Yes, good evening. I know it's a snowstorm out there and everybody feel warm, but you know the show must go on. With that being said, my name is Wallace Gator Bradley and I'm the president of United in Peace Inc. And I want to say, as I normally do, to God be the glory. And one of the most important stories that I want to share with you is that if it wasn't for a young lady by the name of Terry Marsh, who's the chairman of United in Peace Inc. She's also the producer and the director of this show. And I've been blessed by God to be married to her for 37 years. But that's a different story, but that's why I call it a blessing. With that being said, there's a lot of things that's happening in the country. We know that it seems like Trump's staff is imploding. Everybody was wondering about Hope Hicks. And then the secretary of the chief of staff who was in love with Hope Hicks, Leslie, beat up both his wives. But that's enough about Trump. What's most important is what's happening here in the state of Illinois. One of the things that everyone paying attention to is the wrongfully convicted. This gentleman was freed because he was wrongfully convicted. A lot of issues that's happening within the state of Illinois is because a lot of guys were wrongfully convicted because of the actions of corrupt police officers, some of them torturing individuals for confessions. And now that the release of this federal document, there was a sealed document in the Inglewood 4 case or trial. It's called a 302, which is an investigation by the FBI of someone. Everyone was saying, how can this happen with corrupt officers who torture individuals or who frame individuals? How could the state's attorneys let this go on? Because they got to deal with the evidence that's accumulated by the police officers. Well, a person with common sense would ask that same question too. But with that 302, release of that 302 document, it shows where state's attorneys was involved with the police officer. You follow what I'm saying? One of the assistant state's attorneys, he's now a judge by the name of Burns, went as far away as to another state, Tennessee, to apprehend an individual by the name of Ivan Smith. 4 guys were tortured by these police officers. The torture commission came down and said they was tortured. 2 of the individuals in this case were acquitted because they was tortured. One of the guys was tortured so bad that he lost one of his testicles. Name was Millsap. And they tried to get him to implicate a guy by the name of Terrence Brooks, who was the 5th guy in this case that ended up on death row. And if it wasn't for Governor Ryan, he wouldn't be alive to fight his case today, talking about wrongful conviction. But for Burns to go and take 2 Chicago officers who was involved in the torture of Ivan Smith, another assistant state's attorney who was a part of the felony review, and a stenographer to go all the way to Tennessee to apprehend Ivan Smith and bring him back, not on a plane, in a car back to Chicago. Those of us know that that's the federal marshal's job. You got to go through the extradition piece from one state to the next. But the thing about it, the actions that Assistant State's Attorney Johnson, who was interviewed by the FBI, that told what was happening within the state's attorney's office. Confirmed what a lot of people were saying, that the assistant state's attorneys or the state's attorneys who happened to be Daly at that time, or Anita Alvarez a time later, or Divine once upon a time. Now everyone see the collusion between the assistant state's attorneys and the felony review, and what has happened to Terrence Brooks, that he's now asking for a new trial. That's what's happening tomorrow or Monday, but that's another story. The thing that's important now is with this governor's race. You're seeing, while Governor Rauner is putting up the tapes or on the commercials about what Pritzker said in a private conversation, and why Email Jones come out and say that Pritzker should get out the race because of what he did, because of what he said. But he spoke specifically about certain individuals. He said Email Jones. He said this. He didn't say African American people. And almost people in the community say that Brother Jones was sounding like Omarosa when they said they did this to our people. Now we read in the day's paper about Rauner's concern about this individual who he gave money to, Mr. Tillman. He gave him a lot of money for a campaign to talk about Michael Madigan, I believe millions of dollars. Now he found out that Mr. Tillman did a whole lot of underhanded things because of the Sun-Times story. And it's a Chicago and ProPublica investigation into the finance of the conservative think tank that Rauner generously helped fund, that showed that Tillman and his associates moved millions of dollars around 5 interconnected nonprofits they ran, steering money to for-profit ventures that they got a stake in. Is there going to be a tape about that? But then again, that's another story. But you shouldn't throw rocks if you live in a glass house. Rauner said he won't give them guys another nickel. Well, you didn't give them nickels, you gave them dollars. So like I say, when you talk about transparency, you got to bring back or explain, like you got everybody trying to understand a conversation that Pritzker had with former Governor Blago. I want to say this to my viewing audience. The fact of the matter is this: a lot of individuals talked to Governor Blago and didn't know that his phone was hot. And you can rest assured, if Kennedy was to win the primary, I'm willing to bet you $10 to a donut hole that there's going to be an Email Jones tape that's going to pop up. There's going to be a John Daly tape that's going to pop up. And they're going to be saying the same thing that Pritzker is saying. Why don't y'all release all of the tapes? I'm saying release all the tapes myself. I got a special guest that's going to be here because I believe that one of the most important things about the election is the bottom of the ballot. And I'm telling my viewing audience, you got to vote. I'm telling you that you must vote. But go to the bottom of the ballot and deal with them judges. But before I do that, I got to do a little house cleaning and a little commercial. If you're trying to get up with Gator, okay, my email address is LAGATOR, the letter B as in boy, the number 4, the word peace, at yahoo.com. Again, that's LAGATOR, the letter B, the number 4, the letter B, the number 4, and the word, there you can right there, and the word, the word peace. LAGATOR, B for peace, at yahoo.com. Okay, if you want to get in touch with Gator, go to LAGATOR, B for peace, at yahoo.com. And my phone number is 312-371-6914. That's 312-371-6914. Ladies and gentlemen, I have an individual that's running to be elected judge. Judges are one of the most important individuals that's on the ballot. You say, Gator, what do you mean by that? We got the governor's race, very important. We got the Secretary of State's race, very important. We got the Attorney General's race, very important. But one thing for sure, we got the Cook County Board President race, very important. But none of them are more important than a judge, because all of them will have to bring the decision one day or another before a judge. The judge don't have to come before them, but they got to come before him. And that's why I'm telling the voter, go elect the judge before you elect them. There's a friend of mine, Brother Jonathan Clark Green. He's a Democrat. He's running a Democratic primary, and he's running for Circuit Court, correct?
Circuit Court countywide, yes.
Brother Green,
Thank
could you please
Peter, I
share
appreciate it.
with my viewing audience some things about you? I know about you. They need to know about you, and especially your punch number. Start off with that.
127.
127. Man, that's a good number.
It's a good number, yes. I agree.
127. If you want to go to heaven, in
There
case
you
you end up in front of a wrong judge, you want to end up with a judge that's non-biased, that's going to stand on the Illinois Constitution and the U.S. Constitution. So, Brother Green, tell my viewing audience something about you.
Well, I appreciate it, Gator. Thank you. It's great
Okay.
being here. Yes, I've had over 30 years of legal experience. I've been endorsed by the Chicago Federation of Labor, also the National Organization of Women.
Right.
I've been in both the public and private sectors, so I know what it's like practicing in both those areas. I was at the Attorney General's office. I've been with the Corporation Counsel's office. I've worked in the legislature. In my educational background, I went to Columbia University in New York for my undergrad, class of '83 with Barack, matter of fact. I recognized him when he came over here.
Right.
Also, bar ratings, I've gotten all qualified or recommended across the board. I've been endorsed by the Democratic Party with the
Right.
slate. There's 10 of us on there running countywide. And I've had a lot of experience throughout the courts, throughout this Daly Center and the various divisions of the Circuit Court of Cook County, and a lot of federal court cases as well, a number of jury trials to verdicts, so I feel I have a lot of qualifications and a lot of support politically as well, all across the board, from wards in the west side, south side, all around. Went to St. Ignatius here, not too far from our studio here.
Right.
And so I know Chicago and want to serve everybody throughout Chicago.
You know, one of the things, a lot of people, in case I get some callers, I want to let the callers know, you can't ask him the question about what decisions he may make on this cause or that case or whatever it is, because he's not allowed to make that because he's non-biased. But one of the things I want to stress to you, with you seeing all these guys that's getting out because of wrongful convictions and everything else, the pool of judges that you're going to be voting for, and I hope you decide to go down that slate of the Democratic judges that was certifiable because of the Cook County Democratic Party.
Yes, we went through a lot of
And
screening.
it went to a lot of screening, especially with all the things that's happening.
Yes.
So this pool of judges that were appointed and judges that were endorsed, a lot of them were once public defenders, and before they were assistant state's attorneys. So it seems like they trying to create an equilibrium, if I'm
And diverse as well.
right. They all very diverse. I mean, amen, very diverse. And I just want to tell my viewing audience, it's important that you vote in this March 20th election. Vote for a judge that's been vetted as opposed to a judge who hasn't. Vote for a judge that's been certified by the various
Bar
associations as opposed to someone who hasn't. Okay, there are other good guys that's running for judge. There's Tom Cianis that's running for a circuit court judge. You got Travis Richardson that's running for the second sub-circuit. You got Anthony Swanigan that's running in the 15th sub-circuit. You know what I mean? You got Mr. Laws that's running. You got Bates that's running. Judge Bates that's running. There's a lot of judges, and there's a lot of women judges. I don't want to mess their name up, but next week I'm going to give you a line of all the women judges or all the women that's running for judges. You know what I mean? So with the time that I have left, you'd like to share something?
I would love to, first of all, why I'm running for judge. I
Right.
care about the rule of law, and just hearing what you were talking about with these other events, it's so important to have a fair judge. Everybody gets their fair time in court, no matter what your background, your economic status, your faith, your culture, your traditions.
Right.
Everybody should be treated equally. I come from a family, my father was on the bench for 25 years, Al Green. Judge.
Al Green, right,
Yeah.
right.
And my mother, actually, you talk about women in the law, my mother was an attorney for over 50 years, one of three in her class of 48 from DePaul University. She practiced for over 50 years, and I had the honor of practicing with her, so I know what many of the women have gone through and their own experiences with discrimination and others through the years. So I'm sensitive to that. I also have a brother and sister who have special needs at Little City Foundation out in
Right.
Palatine, and I know they have an office here in Sacramento too for adoptions and foster care, and I'm on the board there as an advisor on their sole guardian, so I'm very sensitive to the needs of those who need to be protected.
Right.
And my brother's in Special Olympics as well, and I
Yeah, I saw you with Ann Burke at
at the
at the event. I think that was at
the reception.
Yeah, the reception. Right.
Yes,
right.
it's
right.
very nice. It's a great program's coming out in June. They're having it right here in Chicago for the internationals.
Right.
So that's a great program. One thing I do want to say too, the qualities I bring to the judiciary, temperament, compassion, I believe life experiences, like I said, with Little City and my mother's background, community involvement. I and my wife work with Top Box Foods. We work in the South Shore area at St. Philip Neri, St. Albie's at 91st and Stony,
Right.
and the 10th Ward as well. I've been working the Truck Route 1 for a number of years now, and that's a great program, and we do what we can with that. And also, you talk about diversity. I'm half Jewish, half Polish Catholic. I married Italian. I feel I have some reflection of the diversity
Right.
of Cook County, and I will bring that to the bench as well. And finally, improvements similar to what you were talking about earlier, restorative justice.
Right.
Giving everybody a chance, a second chance, very important. Nonviolent offenders, non-cash bonds, making sure they're not incarcerated. It affects the family. I've had a niece who went through it herself, and I can see the effect on family and your job and getting a future job as
Right.
well. So I am very sensitive to those things. I think Judge Evans, the Chief Judge, has a
Correct.
lot of great programs going on, improving that. The Access to Justice programs, where we have better help desks for people who can't afford their own counsel,
Right.
as well as interpreters when they're needed. I'm sensitive to that, and against diversity in the judicial, not only the judges, but the clerks and everybody.
Right. Now, I
Everybody
see
should
where
get an opportunity.
Chief Judge Evans, we were talking about the restorative
Right.
justice courts or something, and
Right. It's a
one
special
on the west
program.
side and they got
Exactly.
one on the south side.
Yes, it's a great program where, let's say you steal a television set or so, instead of just putting you away or really pushing in that way, getting you together in a roundabout session with the victim as such.
Right.
You get to know each other, then you talk about what can be done to contribute to the community and get credit for community service and other options. And it really brings the community together. It brings people, or makes them realize that you can have second chances. And a lot of times, even those who have their items stolen don't want to ruin someone's life. They
Right.
want them to improve their lives.
Right.
And this is a great opportunity. It's still in the beginning stages. And international law is my background as well, and I believe many other jurisdictions around the world have these kind of mediation sessions. And I think it's time, we have a diverse community here as well, that we should start adopting.
So once they go through that, there's a, if I'm not mistaken, it makes it where that individual won't necessarily have a record.
Right, they
From
can,
that.
it depends, of course.
Right, depending on the crime, right, the
offense.
crime, right.
But yes, they have expungement opportunities. They're still developing some of the options, but it's really, it at least gives us options. And I, as a judge, would definitely vow to support that program, whatever I can do for Chief Judge Evans and others, and participate in that. I would be more than willing. It's a long time coming.
Right, now you see, viewing audience, all that you're saying, why should we vote? Why do we vote for? I'm telling you, go to the bottom of the ballot. You have enough time in that booth. You want to go through there and make sure. Just think about Al Green's song.
There you go.
And even though his dad was Al Green, he's not the Al Green the singer, but just hum an Al Green song. So when you get on that ballot, you go straight to green. And you hit green, and you hear some of them other judges that's going, I'm going to tell you about before the election. But hit green, there's nothing red on the ballot. Hit green, 127, so that you know that you got a judge that's going to be fair. Now, if you commit a crime, get you a good lawyer, but you're going to have a good judge that's going to be non-biased, that's going to base the things he do within that court on the Illinois Constitution and the United States Constitution, because at the end of the day, you have a right to a fair trial. So again, I'm asking you, everyone, please go vote March 20th, 2018. Go to the bottom of that ballot and pick the judges. You're going to hear a lot about judges. Pick the judges. Then you can go back up to the top. Somewhere they say what will be last will be first. Don't start at the top of the ballot and say, hey, who wants to think about the judges? You're going to make the mistake and going to wish you had elected a judge like Judge Green. I'm telling you the judge now. I'm voting for him.
Knock on wood. I appreciate that, Gabe.
And so with my family.
I appreciate
So with that being said, it's my hour to wrap it up. Again, I want to tell everybody, happy Valentine's Day when it comes, and I'm praying to God that it don't be no snowstorm, because I got to take my wife to dinner, because I just had a birthday February the 7th, you know. I was at the speed limit, you know, I was 55.
Yeah.
Now I'm on Route 66, you know,
Yeah,
I'm trying to
there
get my
you go.
kicks, you know what I mean? So hey, with that, I want to say to God be the glory, love someone, stop hating anyone, and everything gonna be all right. Vote for Judge Green, 127,
Go for green.
if you want to get to heaven, if you're in this courtroom. Thank you.